welcome back to the channel. How have you been? How's life lately? I have realized I haven't had a coffee, like an actual proper coffee with you here on the channel in ages. So I thought I might grab a coffee and have a little chat with you. And also, I'm going to make you extremely happy today because we are going to be looking at decks. Yeah, that's your favorite thing to do, right? Look at decks. Anyways, so with that being said, it's actually been a lot of tarot talk lately on the channel. I've been having a lot of fun with looking at my tarot decks, yeah. Also doing some fun tarot tags. If you haven't watched them yet, I'm going to leave the links down below. They've been super fun to film, so I'm hoping you're going to have some fun watching them as well. However, I thought, okay, I've been talking tarot and tarot and tarot and tarot. Yeah, because it's my primary passion, I've realized. However, I've realized that I haven't really mentioned much of my oracle decks lately, and there are a few reasons behind it. First of all, I haven't really been using oracle decks that much as opposed to tarot. However, I thought I might please the algorithm gods today with some oracle decks and also give some of my absolutely most favorite oracle decks some love that they deserve, and yeah, just dust them off a little bit and talk about them a little. So with that being said, make yourself comfortable, grab yourself a cup of coffee with me, will you? And let's get into the video. So before we begin, I actually want to clarify a little bit what this video is even going to be about, because I said in the intro, I believe, that I'm going to be going through some of my favorite oracle decks. However, I want to pose a question: what is a favorite oracle deck even? Because let me explain real quick. I've got a pretty small oracle collection, just like tarot. Most of my oracle decks are displayed over here, but not all of them. Some of them are actually in the closet, in the purgatory, if you will. And what I want to touch on here is that I've got a few oracle decks during my cartomancy practice because I was just drawn to them in terms of imagery. I thought, what a beautiful deck. And some of them, even though they are my absolutely favorite deck in terms of imagery and artwork, they ended up not working for me. Like I can't read with them for the life of mine. And that's actually a topic for another video. I want to talk about these decks, how well they are super pretty but useless for me, and like what to do with them from now on. However, in this video I want to focus specifically on decks that are not only beautiful in terms of imagery and artwork, but also the decks that actually clicked with me. I believe I called this video like decks that really clicked with my soul, something like that. So decks that really clicked with me on such level that even though some of them I have for years and years and years, I still find myself working with them. Like I still come back to working with them, even though it wasn't so much lately because of my obsession with Thoth Tarot. Yeah, but the point is that there are some decks in my collection, oracle decks, that I just love so much that I would probably never get rid of, right? As opposed to some other that are beautiful but not really working for me. Okay, with that being said, I hope you understood what I meant by this. And let's just begin. I'm just going to have a quick sip of my coffee because you know me, I will forget I have it and it will get cold. And then we are going to begin with the deck number one. So I'm just going to be grabbing the decks from behind me because I didn't want to just take them all out. So let me begin with the one that is very special for me, because there is I have a story with this one, and I'm going to be talking about it as I'm going to be showing you the cards probably. So the first deck that I want to mention is the Threads of Fate Lumen edition. It's by the company called Threads of Fate as well. A very beautiful box. I love the coloration, as you can tell. It's a very dreamy pinkish. The guidebook is super small. It comes inside, which is something I really love in terms of oracle decks, because a quick side note, I really don't like it when the deck comes with a huge guidebook that is separate from the deck, because I don't really like working with huge guidebooks for oracle decks. That's such a pet peeve of mine, but also some topic that I could just go on and on and on. Anyway, so the Threads of Fate, it's incredibly beautiful, and I must admit, I first got this deck because it caught my eye. Look at the backs, by the way. It caught my eye with its style, obviously, and with this luxurious just feel of it. Also the edging, real quick, it's like this matte golden edging, something like that. So this is why I got the deck, and I started reading with it, and it was always an interesting read. You do not need to work with guidebook as such if you don't want to, which is a plus for me. And this deck is just, it's amazing for so much of a dream interpretation as well as just daily draws. Like, it works well. And you can even do larger spreads with it, so that's a plus. I don't usually do large spreads with Oracle, by the way, but I have done one with this deck like 2 days ago, to be honest. And it was really rich, it was really mind-blowing for me. I'm just trying to show you the foil on the cards. And I wanted to tell you something, and now it slipped my mind. Hold on. Yeah, so I first basically got this deck because of its artwork and its style and its design, right? However, this was one of the very few Oracle decks that actually ended up being actually useful and readable for me. And even though I would have my pauses with this deck, like I would just stop reading with it for a little while because, I don't know, I would be just a little bit just overstimulated by it, or, you know, I would focus more on tarot. I always find myself coming back to it. Like I said, I just read with it 2 days ago, and it was fantastic. It was very insightful, and again, the plus is that I do not really need to be working with the guidebook. So that's like, that to me is super important. By the way, I'm really hoping that the camera is focusing on the cards. I wasn't even checking that. So what can I say? I just love it. It's a very beautiful deck, but a part of being beautiful, again, incredibly useful, straightforward messages, well, for Oracle deck, right? Because there is a thing about Oracle decks, like I don't really, they are not my go-to, you know, tarot is usually my go-to. But in terms of Oracle, incredibly useful for me. And I once actually, oh yeah, there's this story I want to tell you. So let's just look at a few more cards. I once wanted to get rid of it because I was like, I don't really want to read with this deck anymore. Like, I don't know what it was. I was just like, I'm just too saturated, overwhelmed with this deck. And I really wanted to, I was thinking about gifting it to someone, but I didn't really know anyone who would want it, like, in my life. And I was like, yeah, I will probably give this deck. Well, I'm so glad I did not. I'm so glad I did not, because this is literally, as I said, one of the very few decks that I just keep coming back to, and I would be so sad if I did not have it. Also, this was, as I tend to say, this was one of the guilty pleasure purchases because this is on a pricier side. But the cardstock, by the way, is like super sturdy. It's a really, really good cardstock. And let me tell you, because I even dropped this deck once, and it's, I mean, literally nothing happened to it. And I mean, the quality of this deck is just amazing. So I just needed to put it on the #1 position, even though I know that I have featured this deck on the channel in the past in several videos, but I just love it, and I will probably be featuring it again. I'm actually planning on giving you some tips on how to work with Oracle spreads, because in my opinion they're a little bit different than tarot, and I'm probably gonna be bringing this deck again, so yay! Sip of the coffee real quick. Okay, the second deck I want to mention in this video is also one that I was speaking about on the channel quite recently, but I have to. I'm sorry, I have to speak about it again, because this deck clicked with me in a way that was just mind-blowing to me, and as I always tend to say, it was like I did not expect it. My decks are just so surprising to me, because I always like, I get a deck and I'm like, yeah, maybe I will read with it for a moment, but then I will probably get bored. Well, not with this baby. This is the Rainbow Brain Skull Oracle. Did I call it right? Rainbow Brain Skull, yeah. I'm leaving the name of the creator on the screen as usual. Now this is, this deck is one of a kind. Again, yeah, I love unique decks. Can you tell? I love unique decks. First of all, let's appreciate the holographic foil edging. I am just mesmerized by it. I'm sorry, you show me like a rainbow color and I'm going to be in love. Okay, here are the backs. Very simple, very fitting, and here are the cards. So this is a very funny deck. It's quite ironic sometimes, quite sarcastic sometimes, but usually incredibly uplifting. And the artwork is just, it's very modern and it's very unique. Like, this is not your dreamy esoteric oracle deck as was the Threads of Fate, for example. This is on the completely other side of the spectrum. But I just love pulling one card from this deck every so often, because it just gives me the, you know, just the spark for the day. It gives me a little bit of juice, if you will. I don't even know how exactly to explain my relationship with the deck, with this deck. I actually gifted this one for myself for my birthday last year. Also, this is like on the cheaper side, so if you want to get this deck, you will you can totally get it. It's completely affordable. It's also, I believe it's mass produced, so you can get it pretty easily. And I do really recommend getting it is if you are a person who is either struggling with anxiety or just overall, if you are a overall stressful person, this deck is so light-hearted that it can really be actually beneficial to work with. I mean, in my opinion, even though, yeah, there are some messages that are actually like tough love and maybe a little bit of a harder medicine to swallow, but it delivers it to you in this funny, light-hearted way, and I don't know, I just love its approach. Actually, let me show you my favorite card in this deck if I can. Okay, I really love this one. I used to pull this one a lot, and it was really fitting because I usually, you know, create instances in which I suffer. That sounded a bit dramatic, but and there is this one card. This one, oh, I mean, my inner perfectionist. I would also be pulling this card a lot. I mean, isn't that wonderful? It's like that, it hits you in the face. It hits you in the face and it's like, just chill out. Chill out, human. Nothing is that serious, you know. So, yeah, the brain skull, what is it? Rainbow brain skull. I can never get the name of this deck right. But definitely the deck that is not only beautiful and smart and unique, but it also works for me perfectly. Like, my soul needed that deck, and I know that there is something similar to it. I believe it's called Morgan's Tarot, even if it's not a tarot but an oracle deck, but I like this one more because it's more colorful. So, yay! The deck number 3. This is actually a deck that I loved. I used to love it so much, and then I stopped using it because its creator, not even an artist, but its creator did something that I was not okay with. I even have a video about it, I believe, not talking about what this creator did because I didn't really want to, you know, speak badly about someone, but I stopped using the deck for it, and it's so funny to me now that I work with Thoth because it's Crowley's deck, and I also do not really agree with everything that Crowley did in his life, and yet I'm using his deck, and then I was like, why would I not use the oracle deck, you know, this oracle deck? So anyway, without further ado, the deck in question is a Yogic Path Oracle by Sahara Rose, artwork by Danielle Noel, and this deck, y'all, you cannot imagine how much I loved this deck. This was my favorite oracle deck for ages. I would be pulling cards from this one for ages, especially, look at the backs, especially when I would be starting my meditation practice, which is not so prevalent in my practice right now. I want to get back to it, like who doesn't, right? It's always a struggle. I need to meditate a little bit more. But anyways, I used to love this deck. I still do. I mean, it's imagery. I mean, first of all, Danielle Noel's artwork is just outstandingly, otherworldly beautiful. She's so incredibly talented. So there is that. And also, this is the, as you can probably already tell and see, this is Hindu influenced deck, or Hindu style deck. I don't even know how to say that, like, respectfully. There is a lot of yoga references in there. There is Hindu pantheon, so Hindu deities. There are also some stuff from Ayurveda, I believe. And the messages of this deck are so fitting. I don't know, when I would be working with this deck, I would be working with this deck daily back in the day, and I always enjoyed it a lot. Now the only downside, and I kind of already said what that was gonna be in the beginning of the video, is that there is no guidebook. Oh, I forgot to say with the previous deck, there is a little guidebook inside the Rainbow Brains Coloricle. There is just also like a little booklet, but you don't even really need it. With this deck, however, there is a huge guidebook. Now I have that guidebook, it's just on my shelf, but complete, like up the shelf. I will not get it now. Yeah, the guidebook doesn't come with a deck. I mean, it does when you purchase it. What I mean, it's not in the box, right? The guidebook is bigger than the cards, and therefore it kind of ruins the experience a little bit, because you have to be, you know, just having the guidebook with you. Now, there is a way, obviously, for you to work with this deck, even without the guidebook, that being if you are already familiar with the Hindu pantheon, the Ayurveda, yoga, stuff like that. Now, I would sometimes use this deck without the guidebook, but I would always feel a little bit better with the guidebook, you know, because it's not something I practice daily. Like, I really do like yoga. And I really do admire, and I'm a fan of Hindu practices, if you will, but I do not consider myself like really being in it, you know, and therefore I would feel much more, what would the word be? Not safer, but I would feel more using the guidebook with this deck would be making me like make more sense of the cards and make like get more from the messages, basically. So yeah, and then as I said, after I have realized that, well, I'm working with Crowley's tarot deck and I'm not really a fan of Crowley, then so why couldn't I continue using this deck if I love it so much, even though I had my issue with Sahara Rose for a moment. By the way, it's not about her, what she's doing, etc., but she had a little problem with another spiritual creator witch, and someone I really admire a lot, and they spoke about what happened, and I was like, I took their side, just like inside of me, you know? Anyway, if you know what I'm talking about, you know. If not, it doesn't even matter at this point. But the point is, this deck is something that I will not get rid of, probably ever, because there is no other deck like this for me. I mean, in terms of what this deck provides, the images that it has, I mean, again, the use of color, the type of artwork, the theme of a deck, also the cardstock, I love it a lot. It's also very sturdy, it's very it's of a high quality, and this is really, you can get this deck cheap as well, despite of its amazing quality, which is something I appreciate a lot. And yeah, this deck just clicked with me. It clicked with my soul so much that I'm just really happy that I have it, and I do want to work with it more because the feeling that this deck gives me, it just fills me with so much joy. I just love interpreting its messages, and I love doing like soul readings for myself with it. Like usually what would my soul need? Like this deck is perfect for it. It's just perfect for it. And I'm very happy that I have it. And my voice is leaving me, so let me sip my water real quick and then we continue. The fourth deck that I want to talk about is actually one of my newest oracle decks, and this was an instant purchase actually. And I talked about it on the channel once, I believe. And the deck in question, I just had it on in a pouch because it did not come with a box. The deck in question is this one. It's Dirty Offerings or Dirty Offering Oracle by Lennon Smith. I'm leaving her Instagram handle down below. She is selling this deck on Make Playing Cards, and this is basically a very small and incredibly unique oracle deck. These are basically Lennon's hand drawings, and if this doesn't scream witchy to you, I don't know what is. I don't know which deck would. Sorry, English isn't my first language, I got a little bit entangled there. Basically, this deck doesn't come with a guidebook. I'm still not sure whether you can purchase something like that on Lennon's coffee page or something. Not sure. You would have to check it out for yourself. But again, you do not need a guidebook with this, and I just love it because it works intuitively. And it works incredibly well, especially for witchy purposes. Now this is why this deck clicked a lot with me, because it just falls into my witchcraft practice so incredibly well. Now, what do I mean by that? For example, I've been lately, well, not lately, but a few weeks ago was it? I don't know. I was dealing with some heavy loads of evil eye, let me tell you. And I had a lot of witchy stuff to do about it. And this was the deck that I was using basically to check the energies. So, and it was incredibly straightforward and really on point. Like I was basically, you know, using it to scan the energies, how the energies are, how they're moving, what needs to be done, if there is something else that needs to be done, how is the thing progressing, etc. You can get the picture, you can imagine, I believe. By the way, I was thinking about talking to you a little bit more about using decks, Tarot and Oracle, in witchcraft. Let me know if that's something you would be interested in. But yeah, I thought it might be interesting, so let me know. But yeah, basically, this deck just clicked with me like no other in terms of that. So it's not so much about daily draws for me, I would not use it for that, but mostly the energy scanning, to call it something. It's very good at picking up energies, energies around you or around a situation. I even used it once to check on a connection I had with one person, and again, incredibly clicking, incredibly simple and straightforward, and just, yeah. So I don't see this deck leaving me any time soon, or maybe probably ever. Also because I really do like supporting artists that I admire, and you probably know, if you have been for a while, that Lennon is one of the visual artists that I really do admire and love to support. She isn't only a visual artist, she also writes poetry. She does a lot of interesting stuff, so definitely check her out, by the way. And yeah, so this deck, it's perfect. It's perfect, and I think what was the main factor for me that made me really go for it is that these are hand drawings. Like, I can't get over the fact that she did that with her hand. Like, how witchy is that? How raw? How artsy? Also, there is something else that I want to tell you while I'm looking at this deck, And that is that, you know how AI is becoming really prevalent lately? I've been having so many discussions and arguments with people about the goddamn AI, like especially the use of AI in art. And I'm not going to go into that now because I would be here all day and all evening, and you do not want that. And if you do, let me know. If you want me bitching about AI online. But anyway, I just realized that I am appreciating each time more and more and more and more an actual art, an actual artwork made by actual humans. So yeah, there is something that's really amazing about this deck. And as I said, a part of it being incredibly pretty and unique, it works. It just works so well, and I'm so glad that I got it, because it was a little bit of a pricey thing, because the shipping is sometimes higher than the deck price, you know, and that's annoying, but okay. I'm glad I got this one, and it's not going anywhere, and I just love it and appreciate it, and I just wanted to give it some more love on the channel. So the dirty offering oracle. The only downside that is you have to get a bag for it or something, and I actually have a bag that's a little bit bigger than the deck, and it's annoying, but it's my fault, and I'm planning on getting a little bit like smaller bag or something, but it's something, you know, that's up to me to figure it out. So yeah, the fifth deck I need to mention, I already got it out from there, is a deck that was another birthday gift. Yeah, I'm mostly getting decks for my birthdays, I realized. This was such a I wanted this deck so much from the moment I saw it, and that's basically because of my love and admiration for Mexican culture, which ties with my devotion to La Santa Muerte. And no, it is not La Santa Muerte oracle, because I have that one, and that one did not make it to the list. But the deck that did make it to the list is this beautiful Jade Oracle, or El Oráculo Jade, by Verónica Iglesias, and the artwork by Ramona Snow Dio. Oh, and there is another creator, NK. I am so sorry, I'm just going to... no, you actually have their name here. Okay. Yeah, so this is an indie deck. This is an indie deck. There are two versions of this deck. The big one and the teeny tiny one. Now the guidebook included inside, perfect. You have the English version from one side, and this is the Spanish version. I'm sorry. Yeah, you have Spanish version from one side, and my camera isn't focusing, is it? So again, you have the Spanish version from one side and English version from the other side, meaning you can work with it no matter whether you speak Spanish or not. I usually work with the Spanish side. This is why it was on the Spanish side. And this deck basically explores, it says over here, deities and symbols of ancient Mexico. So this deck, it was, as I mentioned, it was something I wanted for a long time, ever since I saw it, even though it was also sadly on a pricier side. Well, sadly, it's an indie deck, so you can expect it to be on a pricier side. And the shipping, the goddamn shipping, because again, I live in Central Europe, and when you get something, I believe the person who, the creators, they live in the United States, so you can imagine the cost of shipping. But I'm more than willing to, you know, pay it in case I really see something like this. Now the cards are pretty shiny, as you can see. That's the only downside probably. I like more of the matte sort of cards, and also this is the back. However, this deck, again, obviously I got it because of, not really because of its style, because I think like you could do more with the artwork. And what I mean by that, don't come at me, the artwork is beautiful, it's very traditional, but like the background is this uniform thing, and I think you could like play with it a little bit more, but I know why they chose this. Like obviously the drawing itself like stands out a little bit more, so I think it's beautiful. But a part of the artwork, I also got this deck mostly because of my interest in, as I mentioned, in ancient Mexico, in Aztec culture, because it's something that I really do love researching and learning about, obviously with all the respect that it deserves. And the thing is that I was a little bit afraid though if I was actually gonna be able to work with this deck as such, because these like names of the Aztec deities and some other parts of the Aztec mythology, like they are hard to remember if you are new to it. Right now I got used to it obviously as I was studying it more, as I was getting in contact with it more and like working with it more and reading about it more, and like, you know, the drill. However, this deck also, as the others on the list, ended up working for me incredibly well, and it became such a important and very lovely part of my spiritual practice. So this is why this deck would also just, this will not leave my collection ever, I can say that for sure, because it's a very lovely, incredibly lovely tool for me, spiritual tool, and a learning tool as well, because the guidebook contains a lot of information also about all these deities, all these parts of the mythology. It is really rich on that. Like, it doesn't just give you, it doesn't just shoot a message at you, it also explains a lot, well, what it can explain in a little white book, obviously. But it can give you a lot. It can give you a starting point when you're interested in this type of thing, when you're interested in this type of mythology, culture. So yeah, again, I haven't really read with it lately. Again, why? Because of my obsession with Thoth tarot. But this deck is just, it's such a jewel. It's such a jewel for me, and I treasure it, and I will always treasure it. And I used to work with it when I would be doing like my morning sort of like meditations and stuff, which is something I don't do these days. So maybe when I get back to that, or if I tailor my practice again to use it a little bit more, I would be really happy to do so, because this just clicked with my soul, as the name of the video suggests. This deck clicked with my soul a lot. It's gorgeous, and it's just, well, I'm sorry that I'm ending it with the phrase "it's gorgeous." What I mean is that it's incredibly potent and powerful and just rich, and I love this deck, y'all. I love this deck so much. It is good to use the guidebook with this one, obviously, because of all the information on this culture, etc. But you can also use the deck without the guidebook, because once you get familiar with these energies, with these archetypes, and these cards in general, you can totally work with this book without the guidebook, which is fantastic, you know. So yeah, I'm really loving this one, the Jade Oracle. Okay, and I actually want to include one last oracle deck, and the oracle deck in question is actually the very first oracle deck I have ever got, ever. And this is why it holds a very special place, and I still love it very much. It's still incredibly useful. Now, I do use this deck for a very specific type of readings, but anyway, without further ado, the deck in question is this one. It's Messages from the Mermaids by Karen K, and artwork by Linda Olson, I believe is her name. Yeah, I got it right. So this deck, obviously it got me because of the mermaids imagery. I love everything, you know, water related and mermaids especially. The guidebook is included in here, but a little confession, and I'm really sorry to Karen, but I rarely read it. Yeah, but that's mostly because, as I mentioned, I don't really like working much with guidebooks. However, the artwork in this deck, okay, first the backs. Also, the cards are shiny, not fun. However, I don't mind it with this deck at all. Look at the artwork. Now, these are paintings. These are actual paintings made by Linda Olson, who is an incredible artist. Like, you can probably tell, she's an incredible artist. Like, she's still creating mermaid paintings. I'm going to leave her Instagram handle here probably, so you can go ahead and check it out. Incredible. The other thing I really need to say about this deck is that it's very inclusive. It's incredibly diverse, which is not something that you see a lot, and you can see that in this deck. So I think that's something that I needed to say, because it's something that, you know, that is there to appreciate. Now, as I said, this was the very first oracle deck, I'm sorry, that I purchased for myself. It was years ago now, and even though I stopped reading with it like on a daily basis, because there's just something that happened to me, and I'm just going to say it again, I became much more tarot focused, much more tarot oriented. Still, I really do love coming to this deck with, as you can maybe guess, with emotional stuff. Why? Because mermaids are emotions related. They are watery beings. Water equals emotions, emotional body, our inner emotional world. And sometimes I need a little bit more of guidance in that area, which as a water sign, yeah, I have to say it again, as a water sign, I need a lot of that, of emotional guidance from my decks, is what I mean. I do like to come to this deck with these questions. Now, as with other decks, I'm guilty of not reading with it super often anymore. However, this deck, a part of being incredibly pretty, now I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but I just have to say it. A part of this being incredibly pretty and incredibly artistic and mesmerizing, this deck just works. It just works. The keywords are incredibly simple. They give you what you need, and they let your intuition do the thing. They just let you read it the way you are supposed to read it in that moment. This is also why I don't really like working with guidebooks much, because the guidebook is, you know, the creator's point of view. However, when you're reading something for yourself, your subconscious mind will usually tell you what you need to know, in my opinion, in my experience rather. So also look, we have a merman here. I think there's just one of them here, but still, lovely detail. Anyway, so this deck just gives you a very straightforward, simple, lovely answer. I love this card. And it just works, you know. And something that you might have probably realized with the oracle decks I've been showing you is that I don't really like seeing many keywords on cards, because I have like, I believe 2 oracle decks with like a keyword or like the title and then keywords. I don't like that. I gave it a go once. I will not speak about that deck now. If you are curious which one I'm talking about, stay tuned in the channel, subscribe to the channel. I will probably talk about it at some point. But I work better with decks, with oracle decks that have only a title. And as I mentioned, the less I can work with a guidebook, the better. So yeah, and this deck does allow me to do that, and it gives a very beautiful, very gentle, very helpful and insightful readings. And this is also definitely something that is not going to leave my collection probably ever, because it clicked with my soul so much. And also the color palette of this deck, I don't know, it's beautiful, it's watery, and it's just something that's so me, and I don't see that ever changing, you know. Like, I don't see how I would just fall out of love with this particular deck, because as I mentioned, it is the first oracle deck I have ever purchased, and I just don't see it suddenly stop working or something, because it's been in my collection, as I mentioned, for years, literally for years, and I still do hold so much love for it, and I still every so often come to it with like a question or something. I'm just checking whether there's something else. Like, let's end with this one, the Hope card. So it just works, and as you can see, like, despite the beautiful imagery, like, Okay, there are some decks that are in my collection that are incredibly beautiful. I'm thinking one deck in particular, by Danielle Noel actually, a little spoiler alert. I find it incredibly beautiful and I cannot work with it at all. I cannot. And as I mentioned, I might talk about it more on the channel someday soon, so stay tuned. But the thing is that with these oracle decks, they just work so well. It's not just about the imagery, it's about how they clicked with me. Like, I found my way to work with these decks effortlessly without the overuse of a guidebook, for example, or without weird feelings, you know, like when you pull a card. This happens to me usually with oracle decks, not so much with tarot, because with tarot you have some sort of base knowledge, right? You have the tarot structure, you have the numerology, you have the astrology, you have all of these things that you can refer to and make sense of a reading one way or another. With oracle you don't have that. Oracle decks are much more intuition based, and therefore it happened to me in some occasions that I would pull an oracle card and I would literally be like, what? And with these decks that I showed you, that doesn't tend to happen. With these decks I usually get the message, like I'm in tune with these decks. These decks clicked with my soul, okay? We are aligned, we are on the same wavelength. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed your coffee. Did you drink it? I did not, but I will finish it in a minute as usual. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comment section. What do you think about these decks? Do you have any of them? Do you work with them? Have you clicked with them? Or just let me know your thoughts. I'm always happy to read. You also consider subscribing if you haven't already. And yeah, I think I will not take more of your time right now. So I'm just hoping you're staying kind, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye bye!